On one side of the pitch, Luis Enrique is being thrown into the air by a chaotic swarm of players in dark blue. On the other, 11 men in Arsenal kits are collapsed on the turf, staring blankly at the grass. The fallout from the 2026 Champions League final in Budapest gave us one of the most intense, emotionally exhausting finishes in modern football history. PSG arrived as the established force, aiming to become the first back-to-back winners in nearly a decade. Arsenal walked in as newly crowned Premier League champions, but were still fighting to secure the first European Cup in their 140-year history. In the dugout, Mikel Arteta was visibly hungry to prove his domestic success could translate to the continent. Standing in his way was a manager in Luis Enrique who had already turned Paris into a clinical, trophy-winning machine. With both managers employing elite tactical systems that threatened to neutralize each other, the match became a question of which locker room would sustain their composure as the clock ran down and the pressure of their respective histories began to press in. The fireworks started almost immediately. Just 5 minutes in, Kai Havertz found a gap and slotted home a massive opening goal. The sudden strike instantly silenced the traveling PSG supporters and shifted the momentum toward London. For the next 55 minutes, Arsenal locked in. The Gunners defended with total cohesion, repelling attack after attack. The clock kept ticking down, and as PSG's shots continued to miss the mark, the defending champions began to look increasingly desperate to save their title defense. Then, just past the hour mark, the deadlock cracked. A chaotic sequence in the box led to a lengthy VAR review, and when the referee pointed to the spot, PSG were handed a lifeline. Ousmane Dembélé stepped up with the entire season on his shoulders. With ice in his veins, he cleanly smashed it past David Raya to tie the game at 1-1. The equalizer changed the mechanical flow of the game. Arsenal's defensive lines, which had been disciplined for an hour, began to sit deeper, and their possession play became hurried, repeatedly turning the ball over under PSG's renewed high press. The shift in momentum triggered a relentless wave of PSG attacks. Kvaratskhelia and Bradley Barcola began stretching the pitch, sending a barrage of crosses and shots into the Arsenal penalty area. The only thing keeping Arsenal from falling behind was David Raya. The Spanish goalkeeper produced a string of massive, desperate saves, single-handedly pulling his team through regulation time. Transitioning into extra time, the match evolved into a pure battle of physical exhaustion. The elite tactical plans fell away, replaced by heavy legs and sheer survival instincts. Arteta tried to counter PSG's suffocating possession by injecting fresh legs into his midfield, bringing on Eberechi Eze and Martin Zubimendi to weather the storm. But after 120 minutes of grueling, elite-level football, the scoreboard refused to budge. The 1-1 deadlock proved that neither of these heavyweights could be broken in open play. We headed to a penalty shootout at the Puskás Arena, the ultimate unforgiving test of nerve, where months of preparation come down to a 12-yard strike. The shootout opened with precision. Gonçalo Ramos stepped up and buried it in the top corner for PSG. Victor Gyökeres immediately fired right back for Arsenal to keep things level. Then the tension shattered. Eberechi Eze stepped to the spot for Arsenal and failed to convert. PSG had the advantage, but Nuno Mendes gave the Gunners a massive lifeline when he missed his kick immediately after. Into sudden death we went. Young Lucas Beraldo calmly stepped up for PSG, sending Raya the wrong way to make it 4-3. That conversion took the entire weight of the European Cup and placed it squarely on the shoulders of Arsenal defender Gabriel Magalhaes. Gabriel steps up, strikes the ball, and sends it sailing over the crossbar. It was over. 2 hours of grueling tactical warfare between two footballing giants, ultimately decided by a single millimeter of error under unbearable weight. The record books will show Paris Saint-Germain are your 2026 back-to-back UEFA Champions League winners. This victory places Luis Enrique's side in a category occupied only by the Real Madrid teams of the last decade. By securing consecutive titles, they have achieved a level of consistency that very few clubs in the history of the sport have ever matched. The resulting outpouring of emotion in Paris validated years of massive investment and near misses. finally establishing the club as a recurring force at the top of European football. For Arsenal, it is a devastating end to an otherwise incredible campaign. But if we know anything about Mikel Arteta, the heartbreak of Budapest will become the exact fuel his squad uses going into next year. So I leave it to you to debate down in the comments. Does this back-to-back victory officially make the 2026 PSG squad the undisputed greatest team in the world right now? Or did Arsenal's final mistake at the penalty spot simply hand them the title? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next one.